Oh, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today. I want to show y'all a quick way of using Waves plugins, the master. I know some of y'all might not have Ozone and y'all might not have that many plugins and you might be starting out. So I wanted to do a video for mostly like the beginners, talking about these little couple concepts like bus compression, EQ, my understanding of limiting and all that stuff like that in terms of the master bus. If y'all like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm in a little bit of a different space right now, but we still gonna drop these tutorials. So also, if you want to support the channel, check the links down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of the channel, okay, in the video. So let's go.
Se faire sauter toute la city by my side. I go higher, tête haute, les yeux enflammés. Pour les millions de dollars, gare aux faibles. Ceux qui vont me guider sont mes frères. N'aurais jamais dû le faire, au prix sang et cher. Accordez-moi un instant, sur le chemin, sur je serai. Travaille 7 sur 7 pour les frères, dit en faire.
All right, so we got a really dope song right here that I've been using a lot lately. I just love the damn song. So the most important thing too, is the fact that with, when you're entering a master, especially for you people who are beginning, you have to have a mindset of like, okay, what am I working with here? It's kind of like when you go to the doctor before you do surgery, which is mixing and, changing things in the body. The doctor will do a checkup with you and see like what's actually going on with you. I think a lot of the times people who are starting out, they're too quick to jump to conclusions and try out all this nice stuff and that they learned online, which is cool, but you got to use your ears and let the music tell you what's going on. When you're mixing, it's a conversation between you and the music, and we're trying to all get on the same page. So I think I'll just keep on the limiter. No, I'll take off the limiter. I'll just start it literally from scratch. Everything just bypassed, all right? So usually when it comes to like bus compressors, sometimes I compress on the master faders, sometimes I don't. But the most important thing is to listen to the tone of the actual plugin. So when I actually start like, my mastering bus chain, I'll literally have a compressor on, but I'll turn it off with the threshold. You feel me? So let's see.
N'aurais jamais dû le faire, au prix sang et cher. Accordez-moi un instant, sur le chemin, sur je serai. Travaille 7 sur 7 pour les frères, dit en fait.
So even when it comes to something like the SSL bus compressor, I'll audition a couple of different compressors. Here's how I'll start on SSL. I'll put the makeup on 0, and then I'll put the threshold all the way up so that it's not compressing at all. I just want to hear the tone. I want to see if these jeans match the outfit. So as a beginner, always know that you don't always have to compress, but sometimes you can use the bus compressor like a saturator that just gives some tone and some flavor without actually doing any compression. So here, I actually will use a little bit compression. I feel like the mids need to come forward, so I'll use the API 2500 without going into depth about all this stuff right here. Just know, usually the best thing to do, in my opinion, is mess around with the lighter ratios. Especially as a beginner, you compressing 2 to 3 dB, you can't really hear attack and release yet. Lighter ratios are good because they don't work on mostly the peak energy. They just kind of work on the whole gradual energy. They're like a little kid putting their hands inside of the cookie jar a little bit more.
N'aurais jamais dû le faire, au prix sang et cher. Accordez-moi un instant, sur le chemin, sur je serai. Travaille 7 sur 7 pour les frères, dit en faire. Encerclé des âmes multicouleurs, mais quelle douleur. Nos siècles de douleur s'évanouissent dans l'oubli. Offenseurs des ancêtres, pleurnicheurs et nous.
Also notice how my mix is not loud to the point where I'm clipping without the limiter. You feel me? The limiter shouldn't have to be there to make sure you don't clip. It should be there to make the final mix louder. So that's bus compressors helping us get a little bit of control. Okay, so after that we have the Manny EQ. I think this is a great Waves plugin to master with because it's like a precision EQ that really lets you go and dial in a sound. I love how the air bands sound. 20K, 25K is usually great bands for mastering, like Mag EQ. A little bit of filtering here. I never really use filters on masters. I wouldn't recommend to do that. And if that's the case, maybe you picked the wrong 2-track beat that has too much low end, or maybe you need to actually go back in the mix if you got the stems and try to get your low end to sound right. Don't depend on the mastering EQ to make up for bad low end. Okay, so yeah, here I think it's always good to know incremental things. You just want to put a little bit of salt and pepper, but if it's a bad piece of chicken, which is the mix, it's a bad piece of chicken. Ain't nothing you can do to make a rotten piece of chicken taste any better. Ain't nothing you can do on the master bus to make the whole mix sound better when the mix ain't even a good mix. You feel me? So just a little pinch. There's always gonna be a little bit of resonance. So always, I like to, as a beginner, maybe like boost it super hard so you can actually hear what's going on. You find that bad frequency, then you zap it out. You feel me? So these are the settings that I kind of ended up with, just a little bit in the low mid and just a little bit in the high mid as a shelf. I'll usually use a shelf though.
N'aurais jamais dû le faire, la patria. Mais moi baptisé par ses couture, Orura didi me really tie. $1,000,000 dans mes dreams, Gucci Prada New Jeans. Real nigga tu le sais, prématuré en exil pour mieux gérer la zone. Avec mes niggas on fait du sale, bien bas on fait le show. Pas de trace qui aurait visé sur un pack, multiplié le flow. All eyes on me, en pleine lune, ma comique. Kitty, je touche au plus près, la plus claire des lunes. 360 mec Jack. Ça c'était moi qui étais quoi.
So because my vocals also bright, you gotta be thinking when you're mastering stuff, you gotta think about how bright your lead vocal is too, and some of the other instruments, right? Because this is working on the whole mix, and I know my lead vocal's already bright, so I don't want to do a crazy amount of boosting. So you hear like, okay, this is like a gentle bit of lift that glues the whole mix together. So the high end all kind of feels relatively the same, all right? It's like we're all inside of this helicopter together, which is the high end, you feel me? And we're not just like in separate helicopters and planes, if that makes any sense, right? So then a CLA mix down, saturation is usually a great thing to have on the mix bus. I don't want the glue. I know that this is supposed to be EQ, but don't really sound like EQ to me. I just mostly love this plugin for the drive. So saturation is a nice little thing that you can do to minimize how much compression and EQ that you're doing, because it's gonna add more of those things, but in a different way. You feel me? It's gonna like sweeten like Splenda without actually using real sugar type shit like that.
Fais le show, pas de trace qui aurait visé sur un pack, multiplié le flow. All eyes on me, en pleine lune, ma comique. Kitty, je touche au plus près, la plus claire des lunes. 360 mec Jack. Ça c'était moi qui étais quoi. OG mettons la lumière sur le passé. Je t'aime et qui t'aimera à vie dans mes pensées. Plus jamais 6 heures et tous mes œufs dans le même panier. Perceur de causes cachées, bien que je continue de creuser. Je reconnais la pierre précieuse du colon au cristal. D'où je viens moi.
So this is a great quick plugin for people who don't know how to master, but they just want shit to sound good. For me, this is kind of like a sound goodizer. I kind of see it like that. Most importantly, I love about the Waves plugins is that you get to see the input if you're clipping the input. So sometimes if you're clipping the input too much, you might want to put like a trim plugin in the beginning and pull it back down, or even maybe on your bus compressor. If you know the bus compressor sounds good, pull the output back down. Sometimes you can make it quieter just so you're not clipping the rest of these plugins. REQ is a great plugin just to notch out resonances, and a lot of the times people notch out resonances, maybe earlier on, but I kind of like to leave it for later on, because let's say if you notch out a resonance in the beginning, boom, now you started squeezing it with the bus compressor and the saturator, now you just brought out another harsh resonance, you feel me? So it's type shit like that. So I like to leave it towards almost the end.
Fais le show, pas de trace qui aurait visé sur un pack, multiplié le flow. All eyes on me, en pleine lune, ma comique. Kitty, je touche au plus près, la plus claire des lunes. 360 mec Jack. Ça c'était moi qui étais quoi. OG mettons la lumière sur le passé. Je t'aime et qui t'aimera à vie dans mes pensées. Plus jamais 6 heures et tous mes œufs dans le même panier. Perceur de causes cachées, bien que je continue de creuser. Je reconnais la pierre précieuse du colon au cristal. D'où je viens moi.
I think the REQ is great for using it on the master fader, especially if you don't have no other plugins or you can't afford them. Because you're just cutting with it. Like I feel like a good, expensive EQ plugin is better when you're boosting because it has character and all that stuff. But when you're cutting, you're just cutting. You might just want something transparent because you already love the way your mix sounds. All right. So think about that. Taking away, and when you want to bring in and when you want to take out. At L2, I like how this distorts. And the most important thing to know as a beginner when you're mastering is you might just want to have something that links it together so you can actually hear the amount of distortion you're doing, right? Sometimes you're just pulling down only the threshold and you're making it louder and you think it sounds better, but maybe you want something that links the output, which is kind of like the overall loudness and the threshold together. And yeah, from there you can actually hear the distortion and shit like that, and it might not sound right.
Fais les shows, pas de trace, j'aurais visé sur un pack, multiples de le flow. All eyes on me, en pleine lune, ma comique. Kitty, j'touche au plus près, la plus claire des lunes. 3-6 et mec jack. Ça c'était moi qui étais quoi. OG mettons la lumière sur le passé. Je t'aime et qui t'aimera à vie dans mes pensées. Plus jamais 6 heures et tous mes œufs dans le même panier. Perceur de causes cachées, bien que je continue de creuser. Je reconnais la pierre précieuse du colon au Christ.
So see, with only literally like 2 to 3 dBs of limiting, I'm already gone myself at -10 lefts without having to crush it. Some people, they be having to crush it 4, 5, 6 dBs because they don't understand the distortion that the limiter is bringing. And there's other ways to actually make it louder by just leveling your shit. Like if your vocal is too loud or the beat is too loud, and you like, man, I'm trying to get the overall loudness up, it's gonna make you just drive your limiter way too hard. So you're not gonna get the desired effect. The mix is gonna be quiet and distorted. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. You like this video? Let me know down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links to support the channel. Appreciate y'all now, YouTube gang. Peace.